Welcome to another episode of the Carlito Monroe Show. I'm your host, Carlito Monroe. And before I get started, at the bottom, I got my social media platforms. All of them is Carlito Monroe Show. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, hit the notification bell so you'll be the first to get any new uploads that I may have, any news that's popping up. A shout out to my truck drivers as always. Without them, we wouldn't have the things that we need on our shelves. But I want to get to the business here, and I'm trying not to take up too much time on this show. But all over the media right now is Kanye West, and I just want to add my 2 cents in on it. Is he currently being counseled? I think that's what I want to focus on, and I think that's what's going on with him now. They're doing so many different things. It's hard to keep up with it. It's like every hour, a couple of hours go by, there's something new, some kind of new information about where they, the powers that be. I'll just say that has done something else to him for his anti-Semitic comments, and I have a level of disdain for Kanye anyway, just back from when he said that slavery was a choice. So I've had an issue with them, and I pretty much washed my hands of him then. I mean, he's had some good music, but even that, some of that music is not, it wasn't worth downloading to me. But I'm older, and then it's just my personal opinion. But so I kind of washed my hands of him anyway. So as far as I was concerned, he was canceled anyway, no matter what he was doing. I never bought Yeezy shoes. I didn't buy, the clothing, or I don't even know anybody who even owns Yeezy clothing, personally, just in my area. It may be people that do. I mean, I see the shoes everywhere, so people are buying those. My son, I bought my son shoes. So, well, I'll take that back. I guess I have bought shoes because I bought my son some Yeezy shoes that he wanted. But this was some years back. I think he was a senior year of high school. Man, it's hard to even know where to start. I mean, I'll start with this. I have my issues with him, but I don't agree with the bandwagon jumping. Right now they're in the midst of canceling him, and then there's people that are in the media and they're jumping on that bandwagon like, yeah, let's, they're bringing their 2 cents in to keep stomping the man down. So, I don't support what he said, but he stated himself that he has a mental issue. He stated himself he's bipolar. Though he may be courageous in some of the stuff he's saying, but if you're bipolar, is that courage? I feel like anybody that's bipolar, you can't say they're courageous or say they have a lot of courage because they're not in the right state of mind. Stuff that I may see, hey, you got courage to do that. Somebody that's bipolar may be having an episode, and that's not actually courage. That's just them, flying off the handle, and whatever happens because they're not in the right state of mind to know that what they're doing may be damaging. So they may not see it like that. I didn't realize how much power that these people have. The powers that be. To tell somebody to come get your money. Come get your money. We don't want it anymore. I didn't even know they could do that. I imagine you can do anything you want with your company, but I didn't know that was even something that was possible. It probably would never happen to me. Is yeah, Carlito, come get your $20 out of our bank. We don't need it. I got such a small amount of money that the bank's even holding. So I can see in my case, like, yeah, your money's just in the way. It's messing up our computer system. But it was stated that I think it was reported like 150 million, and it probably wasn't exactly 150 million. It's probably I don't know. I'm just speculating. It's probably 148,983,632.11. But it's much easier just to round it up, say 150 million, especially for media purposes. So they say 150 million. Chase Bank is like, come get it. We don't want it. We don't like what you said. So I guess he came and got his money. I don't know what he did with it. I imagine he put it in another bank. I would have thought he put it in a black bank if that's if that's the movement that he's trying to make. But I'm really lost on what he's trying to do now. I'm lost on what his movement is. What is he trying to accomplish at this point? At one point, I thought it was independence. Because we're all dependent on some big corporation some kind of way. But I didn't realize that that's not the case with him. I was thinking, well, maybe he's doing this stuff to get out of these contracts so he can go over here and just be independent and just make Yeezy shoes on his own and get 100. Well, I was going to say 100% profit, but he wouldn't get 100% profit. You can't, any business is, you have to understand you don't get 100% profit. You may get 80% or 85%, but you're going to have to give up some percentages some kind of way with employees or distribution or whatever. So, but a larger amount of the profit if he did it independently compared to his Adidas deal. Because I'm sure Adidas wasn't like, yeah, here's 80%, we'll take 20. I'm sure he was probably on the lower end, maybe even in the teens. So I didn't realize that was the majority of his estimated net worth. I mean, they say, oh, he's $2 billion. I was like, wow, he's over Jay-Z. And Jay-Z, the one brought him into the, well, actually, I think it was Dame Dash brought him into Rockefeller and gave him a chance to rap and do all of that stuff. But when the split went between Dame Dash and Jay-Z, he went with Jay-Z, and then let Dame Dash go his way. But Kanye ended up being worth more than Jay-Z. And I was like, man, he done surpassed the guy he was following. You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, wow, it's more money. But I didn't realize his deal with Adidas was the bulk of his net worth. And his deal with Adidas was the deal with Adidas, just that net worth alone at 1.5 is more than Jay-Z's whole net worth. I think he's like 1.2 or 3 or something. So I was like, man, that was a huge deal. And then I started looking into it a little further, and this whole net worth thing doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's something that Forbes does, and then there's other companies that may claim that your net worth is this or that, and they'll do something and put some numbers together. I don't even know how they come up with these numbers, because just like that, his net worth is $2 billion, and the very next day it's like, you said something we don't like, so we taking this away, and now your net worth is $500 million. And I was like, what? Just like that? So the Adidas deal was worth that much? That doesn't mean he was making that much. That just means his net worth was that much. If that makes sense. It doesn't mean he was making 1.5 billion. It's just the worth of it was 1.5 billion. So it just gave him this huge net worth. But I mean, what we know, and it's not even necessarily a fact, but this is what was reported, that the money came out of Chase Bank's 150 million. So we know he got at least that. So to me, it seemed like he would put that money in some black bank or start his own bank. That's enough money. He's got enough money to start his own bank and be on the other side of the token as far as, financially have his own bank. I think he could do that. But, if he was already operating with a black bank or his own bank, would that have happened? Would they have said, hey, come get your money out of here? I don't think so. I don't think that would have happened. I think that, there would still probably be some hurdles along the way from what he said, because the powers that be still are intertwined in his financial system some kind of way. He was dropped from Def Jam. Gap's not dealing with him anymore. I just really thought it was a ploy just to get out all these contracts so he could be truly independent and have his money and be truly independent. I thought he was like following the path of Dame Dash, And that goes to show you a thing with this net worth, and I never thought about it. I think they still got Dame Dash at like negative 2 million. Well, at one point they had him at negative 2 million. I think they got him at net worth 100,000 or something now. I think they got Dame Dash 100,000. Meanwhile, he's got this big studio in Burbank, California. He got a big house, and he's got limousines and security, and he's got money. So that just show you that net worth thing. That's just something for the internet and for people to ooh and ah over, and it helps. It helps people. It helps the people look at the stars and the famous people to be more famous and well off than what they really are. I'm starting to believe that that's just the case. These people are not. They don't have the money that they're being portrayed as having. So it's kind of like YouTube, for instance. You can put out a video on YouTube and you have 2 views. How many people go on YouTube and see a video and it has 2 views and will not click that video because there's only 2 views on it? But then if the video has 2,000 views, let me click it because other people looked at it. It's a mental state that you're being trained to follow. So if somebody has a net worth of $1 billion, that makes you ooh and ah over them, even if they don't have that money. But you think they have that money because you're a peon in this whole entertainment or this whole business world or advertisement world. You don't understand that this is what they're doing to basically trick you into to purchasing or being a part of that brand. Now you think about it like this. Kanye West was a producer, then he started rapping. I liked his music, bought his albums, along with other people buying his albums. He has a level of fame. And then it kept going up and kept going up. His money came from the shoes. People bought the shoes because of him and his music. So it grew like that. So it just made more sense now that it's so big. If you were out of that contract and be independent, you can make more money, even if you didn't sell as many as you're selling under Adidas. But to say what he said, to basically, to say some harmful things to that Jewish community or to the Jewish community, it's offensive. I mean, nobody should be looking to hurt somebody's feelings or to insult their culture. Though black people's culture, our culture is insulted all the time, but we don't have power like that. Well, we do have power, but we're so wrapped up in the marketing. You know what I'm saying? That the powers that be marketing is so great that it just manipulates black people into relieving their power, to not allowing the power to be proven. We're the consumers. We're the ones that spend money frivolously. We will buy Yeezys for $250, $300, $400, $500 just to have the shoes on. We'll buy those shoes for that price. Meanwhile, Adidas makes money, Kanye makes a little of it, and then everybody's happy because we're happy that we spent the purchase. Now, that could be our last, and that's the problem. That's where the power lies in. So if you're supporting Kanye, not necessarily what he said, but just to support him, just not be a bandwagon jumper and just piling on top of this guy while everybody's stomping him down, don't buy Adidas. Don't buy Adidas. That's where the power lies in. Now, realistically, nobody's going to buy these. It's been reported that Adidas is going to, we're going to still put out the Yeezy. It's just not going to have the Yeezy name on it. Then that's just a replica. And black people do not buy replicas. We have to buy the real thing. You don't get to sell us something that's not what it is. If it's a knockoff, we look at it as a knockoff. So they're not going to sell those shoes. I mean, they'll sell some. Somebody's going to buy them. But they're not going to sell them like they selling the Yeezys. And they definitely can't have that same price tag, $250 or $220, whatever they are in the store. You're not going to be able to have that price tag on it. You're going to have to really knock them down and probably sell them in Shoe Carnival or someplace like that where people can get them, 2 for 1 and 1 for half price. I can use these to work on my car in. So yeah, that's how they would have to sell those. That people just not going to buy them shoes. I'm not going to, I didn't buy Yeezys, you know what I'm saying? But even more so when they're not Yeezys anymore, just the style. I wasn't even crazy about the style. I didn't think the style was all that great in the first place. But that's just my opinion. But I'm older. I buy shoes for comfort. I have Nikes and stuff, but I don't wear that. I wear Brooks. You know what I mean? I wear Brooks and Asics. These are shoes. These are runner shoes. And if you try on a pair of Brooks or Asics, and then you try on some Adidas or Nike, if you're not thinking about style, just comfort, you're going to purchase those Brooks and Asics over the Nikes and Adidas. And now the Brooks and Asics, they're coming in better styles or a little more stylish, but kids still want the Nike and the Yeezys and all that stuff. It just make your feet bad. But yeah, he's in a situation right now. And then see, that's another thing. Right when I'm thinking this, then there's something else. You say he says these anti-Semitic comments and statements. Adidas drops him, then he runs over to Skechers. And what was he going there for? The guy that's the founder, he's Jewish. He never stopped to think that this guy is not going to do any business with him because he don't like what he said about his culture or his religion. You know what? I'm lost. What was his ulterior motive here? That leads me to believe, and this is my opinion. This probably more than likely didn't even happen. But I'm led to believe, did he kind of do like a handshake deal with Skechers saying, hey, I'm trying to get out of my Adidas contract. And when I get out of that, how about me coming over here and doing the deal? And then the Skechers people like, yeah, that'd be a great deal. Yeah, we'll work these numbers out just right for you. So him not even really trying to be independent, just probably trying to get a larger bite out of the apple than he was getting with Adidas, and more creativity on it. So I'm thinking it was all a ploy. So he says this thing, he said these things, Adidas drop him. He runs right over the Skechers. And they're just, and according to the reports, and this allegedly he went over to Skechers and he didn't have an appointment, and security was like, hey, get out of here. It's like, we got nothing for you. Beat it. Scram. I don't know if they said those words. I always want to tell somebody to scram or beat it. I've told my kids that, but that's when they were younger. But I'm figuring the security is like, hey, beat it. Hit the bricks, buddy. Get out of here. So they ran him off. So I'm just thinking, like, what was his plan? What was he trying to do when he went to Skechers? And the only thing I could think of is that he was trying to get another deal or something. His friend, it was the actor guy. He was recently on a YouTube show, Comedy Hype. And if you don't know about Comedy Hype, it's a YouTube show where they talk about with the different comedians, and they discuss it. And it's usually talking about different beefs with comedians, because I had no idea that comedians had beefs. I always thought comedian people were always funny people cracking jokes, but there's beefs behind the scenes with comedians. They're human like everybody else, so I guess they would, but I just never heard of it. So this is the first source that I ever seen was this Comedy Hype. So if you're not familiar with them, check them out. And they had his friend on the show, his Albert Daniels. That was his name, Albert Daniels. He's an actor, and only movie I remember him in was ATL with T.I. With it was Laura London, I think. He was the friend that had the cast on the arm. If you've seen the movie, he was the friend that had the cast on the arm the whole time. He finally got it cut off and got promoted at his job or something. Kind of a chubby guy. He was the one usually on the end skating. And he was on there evading questions left and right. They also had a comedian, Pierre, and there's another young woman on there. I can't think of her name. She hosts the show, and then there's another comedian lady. The Albert guy avoided every question that was asked about Kanye West. He said, I don't have enough information on that. It made me think like, man, Kanye must be paying his bills or something, because he was really trying not to answer any questions, say anything wrong, anything. And I get it. If it's your friend, that's what you want to try to do anyway. But at the same time, I would think a friend would respect you, from your honesty. I'm not saying he's supposed to talk down on Kanye. I'm not even looking to talk down on Kanye, especially not right now while everybody's talking down on him. I'm not going to talk down on him. I don't know what support I can give him. I never bought his clothes anyway. I never bought his shoes. Other saying I bought the pair of shoes for my son. I never bought anything anyway. But he's the friend just would not say anything. It was like he evaded every question, and I understand it. But I guess that was his way of supporting Kanye by not saying anything negative, but he didn't really say anything positive either. He just didn't really have anything that much of anything to say. I think that now he's got this school, Donda Academy, and now it's closed. It's reports that it's closed, and then the parents that had their kids going there is trying to figure out how they're supposed to get their tuition for the rest of the year if it's closed the rest of the year because the man then said some things against the people, the powers that be. And now these kids are stuck in a situation like that. That's just not fair, man. There's nobody's considering these kids that, they're going to this school for education. And then there's the basketball team wasn't allowed in a tournament because of what he said. I don't think he thought about any of this. And that goes back to him being bipolar. Were these bipolar episodes that made it where he could not control himself from saying the wrong thing, for saying something that's hurtful to somebody. Everybody knows if you say anything against a Jewish community, and in any situation, whether it's in entertainment, whatever entertainment is, or actor, whatever, you're going to get canceled. If not, that means you're going to have to come back and apologize, i.e. Nick Cannon. I don't know if you remember what happened to Nick Cannon. And in Nick Cannon's situation, I remember seeing that show. You had the Cannon's class on YouTube. I don't know if it's still on there or not. I haven't looked at it lately or even looked for it. But on his show, Professor Griffiths, who he had, who was a member of, I can't think of the rap group name, Public Enemy. He was a member of Public Enemy, and he's pro-black, and he said these things about the Jewish community. And then Nick Cannon had, he had some studies and different things he read, and then he added to the comment about, well, I read this, and I said this. And then what Nick Cannon said got back to the powers that be and was like, oh, no, and started counseling him. Now, they didn't counsel Professor Griff because Professor Griff is not a part of that system. If you're a part of that system, then they can start counseling you. And I hate for them to say even counseling. It's not really counseling. It's just that, well, we don't want you working for us. So can they counsel you if you're independent? I don't think you can be counseled if you're independent. But if you work for somebody or you're partners with somebody or these big companies or whatever, and then they're controlled by the powers that be, you can get canceled. That's the only time you can get canceled. So like with Nick Cannon, he didn't have a net worth of $2 billion. I think his net worth was 40 million or 50 million. I'll give him 100 million. Let's just say 100 million because they don't mean anything anyway. I'll just say his net worth is 100 million. So he started losing his job. And that's when I found out he didn't own Wild 'N Out. I was like, man, I thought he owned Wild 'N Out. But what happened was at one point he did own Wild 'N Out. But then he made a deal where he sold the rights to Wild 'N Out to Viacom. It's not Viacom now. I think it's Paramount Global. I don't know if they changed the name or a different company bought it or whatever. But that's the parent company. It's Paramount Global. And they was like, oh, well, we don't need you. And they cut him off his own show. And then they even went as far as to try to get another comedian to host the show. And then that comedian was like, oh, no, I don't want that. No, I don't want that. Nick's my guy. So the show was just, okay, well, we couldn't get him to do it. We'll just shut the show down. They just shut the show down. They rather not have any show at all than to have him on there. The same thing with Kanye. We rather not have any shoe, no Yeezy shoe at all than to have you anything a part of it. So our answer is just to go ahead and sell a shoe that don't have your name on it. And I think eventually MTV, which Paramount Global is the parent company, they would eventually just say, well, let's just bring the show back without him. We don't have to have anybody host it. We'll have different people host the show. Who works for MTV that we can get to do it? And they'll just get some random person to do it, just to host it, to get it all started, because everybody else is still going to play their role. They're going to do what they do anyway. But Nick came back and apologized. He apologized. They say, okay, you can have all your stuff back. Do better, boy. That was basically the message. Do better. You can have your stuff back. Do better. And and I'm looking for Kanye to apologize. I am, because I think he's starting to see all these walls are coming up, and he didn't have as much power as he thought he did. And he does have power, but he's going to have to let all of that stuff go. He's going to have to let it go and be down here with a lot of millionaires and them 20, 30 million net worths, be down there and just do your thing independently. And then he can have all the voice he wants. But when you're working for somebody, your voice is what they allow it to be. It's your voice is what they allow it to be. If I work for Spotify or Stitcher or some company, I only can say what they allow me to say. If they say, hey, you can't say that. Well, why not? I thought I can just come up with my own material and say, no, you can't say that. If I'm working for them, whether it's a partnership or not, you still work for them. If you're in a partnership and they have the majority number, if they're 51%, you're 49%, they're your boss. Partnership or not, they're your boss. Only thing you can do is sell your portion to them or somebody else, but you're going to have to do what they say because it's their company. But I probably ran on too long about all this stuff. I think with Kanye, what he needs to do now. Let me talk about this real quick. I'm gonna go back to black people having power, and we do, but we don't use it because the powers that be marketing it controls our way of thinking so easily. I remember at one point you're supposed to have been boycotting Gucci. That boycott lasted about 2 weeks. It was about 2 weeks, and the media made fun of it because they had it on the news, the long line at the Gucci store. And guess what? It was all black people. Not one other race was in that line. No other race. All black people in this long line at the Gucci store. And the media covered it as to make fun of the black people. Like, look at them. They were supposed to be boycotting that. Look at that. They're right back at it. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But is it the marketing? It's the marketing that's got us where we wrapped up in these brands, and it has to be that name. And I'm not saying don't buy something that's name brand. You buy whatever you want to buy. It's your money. But you're the ones, you're every time you buy something, you're letting your power go. Every time you buy something Gucci, you letting Gucci have that power. I'm trying to think of the last Gucci commercial I seen. Who's advertising Gucci? Us. Black people. Black people are advertising. You want to have your Gucci shades on. You want to have your Gucci hat, your shirt, your shoes. You Gucci'd up. That's what it is. That we're the marketing tool. Black people. And while black people wearing it, the rappers are wearing it. They're wearing the Gucci drawers and all that. Well, Gucci underwear. My wife hates when I say drawers, but they're wearing a Gucci underwear, and it's what it is. We're the ones marketing that brand, and people still buying it. I remember Tommy Hilfiger. I wasn't too long out of high school. Tommy Hilfiger was a big brand. Everybody was buying this stuff. I had the stuff too. And then it was said that he said a racial slur. He said the N-word. And then people say, oh, we're not buying Tommy Hilfiger anymore. And I'm like, yeah, I'm right there with him. I'm bandwagon jump. I ain't buying it no more either. And I didn't buy it anymore. And then a few years later, everybody's back wearing it again. And it was probably faster than a year, but I wasn't paying attention. Then everybody was telling me, I was like, man, Tommy Hilfiger's back in style. I heard he said this. They was like, oh, we come to find out we had findings that wasn't true, that he never said that. It wasn't that the findings was true that he never said it. It's just that people didn't want him to have said it. People wanted to buy the clothes again, so they did. And that, we're the biggest consumers. That's what makes us the power. This is why the United States is so powerful, because we're the ones here. We have the largest consumers. China makes majority of their money off of us buying stuff. The USA buying stuff. As long as we're buying things, That's where the power lies. We can't stop buying things. If we could stop buying things, we could show them. So like this whole thing, I don't think black people in general are going to buy these Adidas that look like Yeezys but don't have the name on it. They're going to look at it as replicas and they're not going to buy it. And when they're not going to buy it, then Adidas is going to see a big gouge in their numbers. Now, see, I think this is the ignorance of just people in general. It's people I know that's like, yeah, see, we making a difference already. Adidas stock drop. Yeah, because of Yeezy. See, they can't do it without Yeezy. They only a brand because of Yeezy. What are you talking about? Anytime you make a big change in any company, the stock is going to drop. And then it'll go back up. It'll go back up. I mean, they're not going to make the money they was making with selling Yeezys. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. I'm sure Adidas is hoping he apologizes and it takes. Him apologized and then people accept it and it takes. Then Adidas is like, yeah, come on back home so we can get this money about you. Come on back. Now, I think that's what happens. So really at this point, that's what it's going to take if he wants to go back to where he was at. Because in my opinion, Kanye has always been a fence. He's been on the fence. He'll say something for the black people, but then he'll say something for the white people. He kind of goes back and forth. He goes back and forth, and nobody really knows where he's at with it. So it's like you don't support him, then you do support him, then you don't support him, then you do support him. And right now, I don't support Kanye, but I don't agree with the pileup. I don't agree with the bandwagon jumping. So since I don't agree with that, I'm not going to be a part of it. I'm not going to be a part of stomping him down into the ground. I mean, there's nothing I can do to help him because whatever he has, I never bought anyway. I'm not going to go out and intentionally buy something that he comes out with now. I mean, I've said this before with him, what he needs to do just in general, if he wants to be back where he was at, he's apologized. That's what he needs to do. He doesn't have to necessarily mean it, but he needs to apologize to get back where he was at. If he wants to go on the road and the path that he's taken, don't apologize, be quiet, go make some music, get that music out. Now, yeah, he's been dropped from Def Jam, but he don't need Def Jam to make music. He can just go through another distribution company. He's got the money, equipment. He can just put out his own music. Put something out on Apple. I mean, Spotify don't like what he said, but they still have his music. So he can produce and make new music and just kick it out through Spotify. But that's what he needs to do now. Shut up, make some music, and just sit still, and then let his fame be what it is. Let him build up a little fame, stay quiet, build a little fame, stay quiet, and then just come out independently with these shoes. They'll buy them. People will buy them. I won't buy them, but people will buy them. And then he'll be okay. He won't be that billionaire guy. He'll probably be 100 million or somewhere down, regular millionaires. But I think that's what he should do. But again, this is all my opinion. I mean, you don't have to listen to me. I'm a nobody on YouTube. But I done ran on too long again like I usually do. I try not to talk too long, bore people. But go ahead and wrap this show. Hey, if you like the show, like, share, subscribe, comment, and hit the notification bell. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. You'll be the first to know when I upload content. I'm going to go ahead and end this show. This your boy, Carlito Monroe. Peace.